Okay, hey, how you doing? This is Joseph from Nizhoni and today we will be talking about the spot removal tool. So if we hover over this tool, we can see that the spot removal tool uses the Q key as the hotkey to bring us into the tool. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I like using hotkeys. It makes it a lot easier to work. Another thing I want to mention before we get into this lesson is that I've realized that this toolbar down on the bottom of the screen, it's disappeared on me once or twice since I've been using Lightroom, and I've always had to go onto Google and figure out what exactly happened to it. And I realized that if you tap the T key, that's a hotkey that you can use to make that toolbar disappear and reappear. Okay, so let's get right into it. Uh, Before we actually talk about what the toolbars do, I just want to talk about some hotkeys that you can use for the toolbar and these settings. Okay, so if you click on the toolbar, you see we have this little, if you click on the heel brush, you see that we have this little icon here. This is our actual spot removal brush that we're going to use. Okay, now we can increase the size of this brush by scrolling up and down on our scroll wheel, or by adjusting the bracket keys, left for decrease in size and right for increase. Okay, we can also slide this slider around, which also increases the size of the brush. Okay, uh, feather, what that does is essentially, if you look, that center circle in the middle, the area between that and the outer circle is our feather. So pretty much like that's, with a larger feather, you're going to have like a nicer blend when you're trying to remove spots and imperfections from your photo. I usually leave my feather at, I think I usually leave it at around 50. That's usually a pretty good place to start. Except when when you're getting into these smaller areas, you might want to make it a little bigger. Okay, and opacity, essentially what that is I keep it set to 100. Opacity is at 100%, you're gonna completely blend away your imperfections altogether. And well, let me just show you. Okay, we're gonna blend out the spot right here. We're in the heel tool. We're gonna blend this out. Okay. Okay. Now you can see that that spot is all the way gone. But if we turn down the opacity on the brush, you can see there it is again. Because we've essentially, the opacity is how see-through the brush is going to be. So at 1, it makes no difference to your image because you're pretty much seeing through the tool. At 50, it's going to be more faded, and at 100, it's going to completely blend it out altogether. I just leave it at 100, okay? Uh, because in Lightroom, you're pretty much just going to be doing basic um, blending. To get rid of dust spots and things like that, basic things that you want to blend out, you can do in Lightroom. Anything more advanced than just dust spots or something really easy to get rid of, I would recommend going into Photoshop anyways. Okay. All right, so another thing is you can, let me show you a couple different uh, little adjustments here. Okay, so you can see every time we blend, we can see where we've actually, like where our blends have happened. Okay, we have 3 right here. If we click on this blend, you can see this initial blend here, this is what we've actually blended out. And the second spot here is just telling us the reference area that Lightroom uses. So Lightroom uses this area and it analyzes it to blend out this primary area. Okay, we can actually change this area around by moving. We can move this reference area anywhere that we want. Okay. Now, if we pull our mouse outside of the window, these will disappear. Okay, but if we pull it back in, we'll be able to see clearly what we've blended out. Also, if we click on any of our points that we've blended, we can hit the delete key to delete those out. And you'll have to excuse my computer. It's running just a little bit slow right now. Additionally, we can hold down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a computer. And you see we're getting this little scissor icon. I just learned about this. What this is we can drag this box over our blend points and it will delete all of them. Okay, pretty simple. So we have two different tools in the spot removal. We have the clone and the heal. To be honest, I don't really notice much difference between the two. I tend to always use the clone stamp. But the technical difference is that the healing brush, the heal stamp, what it's basically doing is it analyzes a reference area and it uses that reference to blend in like the color and the shading and the lighting, and that's what it does to create that blend. The clone stamp actually clones a duplicate area. Okay, so let's just go ahead and zoom in on these spots. Now here's another helpful hotkey. If you tap the space bar, you'll see that you actually get this little you're able to zoom in. Okay, so it's really helpful to zoom in on these spots because you want to cover them just enough like that, these little dust spots. Okay, so let's see, we're gonna blend that out. That one looks okay, not so great. I'm gonna pull this over here. Okay, that one also looks like crap. Let's try that again. All right. There we go. That one looks a lot better. All right, let's blend these out. If you're having any trouble blending any of these out, you can play around with the feather and the opacity, and sometimes I get a little bit more help blending out these spots. Okay, that's good for now. Okay, we'll tap the space key to get. If you hold the space key down, you actually get this this hand icon that lets you move around while you're zoomed in. But actually, the Z key is a better way to actually zoom in. So when you're zoomed out, okay, you can hold down the space and you get your zoom icon, right? When you're zoomed in, the space key creates this little move tool, okay? But no matter where you are, you can hover your mouse over where you want to zoom and tap the Z key and it'll zoom in. Z again to zoom out. Now another really helpful thing is this Visualize Spots tool. What this does is when you click on it, it really gives you this easy way to view the image and see exactly where these spots are. So you can see, oh, there's one right there. We got another little guy right there. I'm going to blend him out. And then if you see these spots that are, the brighter spots are going to be real prominent, and you probably won't even notice these smaller spots, but I'd still blend them out, because I'm kind of a perfectionist with my photos, so I want to blend everything out. Okay, let's go out. Okay, so that's a little bit about the blend tool, the clone stamp. Now again, I really don't see much of a difference between the clone stamp and the healing tool. Okay. Now, let's say we wanted to blend something a little trickier. Let's say we wanted to blend this sign out. We can do that by zooming in on it. Whoop. Okay, we're going to zoom in on it and probably move down a little bit. And now, let's start with this small one first. This will be easier. Okay, so we're going to use the clone stamp. We're just going to blend that out. And that did a horrible job. Okay, so this is a good opportunity to explain another little trick. So we tried to stamp this out, and for whatever reason, Lightroom did an exceedingly stupid job. So this isn't going to work. So one thing we can do is we can drag this to a more appropriate area, or you can hit the / key. So that's the key that's synonymous with the question mark on your keyboard. and it's going to actually try to pick another area, okay? And it's not really doing a good job. Oh, again, you'll have to excuse me. My computer is running pretty slow right now. But you see, that did a lot better job. You see that? By tapping that / key, it shows a couple different areas, and now it picked this area where you can't even tell the difference, okay? See, you can't tell, and especially when you're zooming out, you're never going to be able to tell that that's there. So let's try again with something a little trickier. Now, if you want to blend out something larger, you probably want to increase your feather just a little bit. Okay. And you want to have a big enough brush where you can cover this entire area. And all you do is you hold down your key, your mouse key, and you just zoom up, and you want the crosshair to kind of just cover the area that you're trying to blend out. So let's see how that works. That worked great. Okay, so we'll tap the Z key again. Let's hover out, and boom, you can't even notice that that's there. So again, small things you can blend out, especially if you're talking about an image like this where the area is going to be very small. You're never going to notice that. Even on a big print, you're not going to notice that you blended anything out. However, this area down here, this in my final image, I blended this out. I actually went into Photoshop to use the clone stamp tool, but let's see if we can actually do a good job right here in Lightroom. Okay, so let's zoom down, kind of move down here so that we can get a really good picture of what we're doing. Let's increase the size of our brush. Now again, you kind of want to practice a little bit on where you need to kind of move your mouse around to cover this whole area. So we know, like right here, we're going to go up like this. Okay, so let's start. So, okay, let's see how that does. I'm guessing it's not going to do too well. No, and it almost did well. So, a couple things we can try to do is we can try to pull this down a little bit. It's doing a bad job. Okay, so let's see what happens if we try that / key. See if it helps at all. No, not really. Okay. Let's try again. / Oh, that's even worse. Okay. Let's do this. Let's pull our reference point over here a little bit more. Let's see how that looks if we pull out. It still looks really bad. So let's just abandon ship on this. Delete. Okay. Let's try the heel stamp. Let's see if that works a little better. Okay. As opposed to just trying to duplicate the area around it, maybe it'll work better if we are simply just kind of blending the tones together. Yeah, that looks a lot better. There's a little bit of a discrepancy there. Sometimes you can fix that by kind of squeezing in on that space a little bit. That looks okay. Let's hit the Z key to zoom out. That looks pretty good. Okay, now I want you to focus down on that area that we were just working on. Let's see how it looks. We're going to hit this toggle key to see a before and an after. That's before and after. It looks okay, not perfect. I could probably go down in there and do a little bit of a better job. But the point is that doing really like more advanced clone stamping or blending or however you want to call it, you're really going to want to go into Photoshop to do anything even slightly advanced. But Lightroom, you can still do a lot with it from right in here. So that's just a little quick tutorial on the spot removal tool. You can do a lot with it. Hopefully you found this interesting, and have a good day. Thanks.